This is another episode of Standup Comedy, your host and MC, celebrating 40-plus years on the fringe of show business. Stories, interviews, and comedy sets from the famous and not so famous. Here's your host and MC, Scott Edwards.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. One of my best friends in the business. This guy is so funny on stage. He worked for me many times over a decade of years on my Laughs Unlimited stages. He's done television. He's a huge corporate comic. Let's welcome him back to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Milt Abel. Milt, nice to have you back.
Thank you. Hello, Scott. Good to see you. No, I can't see you, but you know what I mean.
Well, what's interesting is that we were recently connected on Facebook.
Yeah, because it's unusual. I just learned this after knowing you for decades, that our fathers have the same birth date. February 5th, not February, March 5th.
It is pretty funny that as long as we have been friends, March 5th is the birthday of both our parents. My father would be 91 at this point, and I believe your dad was 88.
Yeah, my dad got married very young. In fact, I even have an older sister who got married at 20. My mother, or I should say, he got married at 18. My mother was 17. Now, it wasn't a shotgun wedding, but there were weapons there.
So they were young parents. How old's your sister?
My sister, I lost my sister to cancer, but
I'm so sorry.
And we stopped looking after she died. But that's a very dark joke. Anyway, what was the question? I felt self-conscious and I lost my train of thought.
How much older?
It was about 2.5 years. 2.5 years.
So your parents did start very young with children.
Yes, they did. Nothing like what happens these days. But yeah, I had my dad over and two of my kids and their significant others for a birthday for him. And after he blew out the candles, I asked my father, I said, do you have any wisdom to share? And he really thought about it. He took a long pause and he goes, don't regret your mistakes. And I couldn't pass up the opportunity for a joke. I said, well, when I finally make one, I'll try to remember that.
Don't regret your mistakes, but at some point it could happen, Milt.
Yeah, I know. Let's maybe we'll catch it on tape. Maybe you'll get a famous moment on tape.
Well, I just thought it was so great that you could share that birthday, and I saw a photo of you and the family with your dad, and that's so great to have those memories. So congratulations and happy birthday to your father.
Oh, well, thank you. I will pass it on to him. It's nice. He lives here now in an assisted living facility where, he's so excited about bingo now. You get that old and, if you wake up alive, that's the day's done. So bingo's
a big treat after that.
Exactly. And they play $1 bingo on Mondays, and then Tuesdays the whales show up, to use Las Vegas parlance, and it's $2 bingo. So he really loves that. I got him up here from recently because he was on his own in Chico, California, which is really a struggle for him and for me, because I don't know if you've ever tried to explain to someone how to use the remote to a cable television over the phone, but it's like playing Pictionary from another room. It's almost impossible.
Yes, I'm helping take care of Jill's father, who is in his 80s, and we have him in a senior facility. And there's been many times we've had to try to explain common things like the phone and the television. Oh, yeah. And you were doing it long distance. Now, we should tell everybody you're up in the Seattle area?
Oregon. No, Portland.
Portland area. Portland. Well, I was within a state.
Yeah, the same climate. But yeah, I remember at one point, in explaining to the directions and him reporting what he was seeing, he used the word thingy a lot, and my experiences taught me that if you use thingy too much, it doesn't mean anything anymore. He kept describing, finally I got the TV on the Weather Channel in Spanish, and then I quit for about 2 weeks. And I'd call him at that time. I go, "How you doing, Dad?" He'd go, "Estoy frío."
Well, at least the thingy worked.
Yeah, it did. So I got him up here, and he's doing much better. And it's nice not to talk to him on the phone. He's such a loud talker. I'd be on the phone with him with my cell phone, and people go, "Take him off speakerphone." He is off speakerphone. He's that loud.
Well, it is one of that circle of life that we're taking care of our parents at our stage.
Yes.
But I'm glad that that's gone well. Have you been performing?
Yeah, I was. I took a long hiatus. I had some health issues. I was taking care of my mother. I was living with her and taking care of her. She had Alzheimer's and was on oxygen 24/7. Had a 50-foot cable of oxygen that she traveled around the house, kind of like Snuba through the house. And I thought you would recognize that term, Scott.
Yeah, I don't know if the audience will, but I'm a co-owner of a company called Snuba International, and it's underwater snorkeling where you have a 25-foot hose that allows you to take air from the surface and enjoy under the ocean. But using that in the story, thank you very much, Milt.
Sure, I get some kickback on that. Yeah, so she would have this cable everywhere she went, and she had Alzheimer's, and we'd play hide and seek, and I'd find her. I just followed the cable, but she had Alzheimer's. So we could play over and over again. It was nice. But anyway, I'm working again, and one of the younger comics that watched the show, and I thought it was just okay. He goes, "You're too hard on yourself." And I was thinking, I was doing comedy before this guy was born, and
so your opening act was born after you were already in the business. What does that say?
I was already headlining for you. Yeah. So anyway, I got some work coming up in the fall. And it's funny. Here's something about getting older too, If you're 16 and you have something to do in September, you think, well, that's forever. Here we are. What is it? March 12th, 11th, 10th, 6th? I don't know, 8th, March 8th. And you think, if you're 16 and you think something in September, that's forever. That's never going to happen. And at our age, you go, gee, I better start getting ready.
You got a gig coming up in 4 months? We better start writing.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm doing a corporate date in Sacramento. Not in Sacramento. That's where you are. Are you still there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. No, in San Francisco. And then what I did was, I'm really happy about this. I managed to find work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and the 3 days before at various casinos and nightclubs in Northern California on my way down. So I'll be nice and warmed up and sharp. Corporate dates are tough.
How tough are they?
Comedy clubs. Well, I mean, I don't have a punchline for that. But I'll give you I'll give you a truism about it. In a comedy club, nobody knows anybody. You are the focal point. You're the one that everybody knows, even if you're not famous. This is the headliner tonight. But in a corporate date, everybody knows everybody, and you're the outsider. The aesthetics are a little tougher, but the plus is that you do know what they have in common. So you can do hopefully some observational material. I like to write private jokes for private companies, because, observational comedy, you can't do observational comedy unless people can relate to it or are willing to admit it. I mean, you never seen an observational comic open with, "Don't you hate it when you're under indictment?" and yada, yada, yada.
Well, what's this corporation you're going to be doing? Don't give their name, but what type of business?
Good question. I've asked the producer twice. So, I can probably write plenty of jokes in the last 2 or 3 days, but it's more fun. You find if you have something on your mind and you give yourself time, jokes generally come. I've been really lucky. I've been pretty prolific lately.
Well, it's great to have a surprise corporate gig. Ladies and gentlemen, appearing here at Alcatraz, Milt Abel.
Yeah, try the veal. Yeah.
Well, I know you as a traveler.
There's a pun there about being booked. Anyway, go on.
Well, I know as a professional road comic, you travel a lot. You end up in hotel rooms. Any unique circumstances arrive in that in that
Yes.
circumstance?
Well, yes, yeah. Well, recently on my own, as a thank you to myself, I took myself on a trip down the Oregon coast after I got my father, which was a hell of a lot of work. Moved from Chico up here to the assisted living. I was going to treat myself and go down the Oregon coast, and I stayed in a hotel and got a room that was already occupied. Little did I know. There was a fly in this room, and I started, and I should mention, this is also, I was recuperating from some surgery. I won't go into details, but I was pretty weak. I mean, weak into the point of, I don't know how many audience listeners know how weak you can get, but your hands actually feel heavier. They're actually more meat and bones at the end of your arm than other parts. And you get weak enough, you'll notice that. So I was pretty weak, but I still went to this hotel, and there's a fly in the room, and they don't give you fly swatters, God forbid. So I'm snapping at it with my towel, and I start getting winded, but I think I hit it, but the floor was all dark, so I wore shoes the rest of the stay. Anyway, next morning I take a shower, I step out, and in this little closed, all-white bathroom, the fly's in there again. So I obviously didn't kill it. So I close the door with me and the fly in the room, and I have a wet bath towel. I'm naked, and I'm thinking one of us is not getting out of here alive. And so
picture this.
So I
right.
start snapping at it, and after about 3 to 5 shots at it in the air, I'm out of breath. I mean, I'm really exhausted, and I suddenly get this fear that this could go either way. So I managed to hit it. After I rested, I snapped it out of the air. It fell into the tub shower stall. And I don't know if it was unconscious or dead. It's hard to tell the fly. So I just threw the 4 to 5 pound wet bath towel on top of it, left the room, went to breakfast, came back into the bathroom and sat to use the facilities. And I looked to my right, and there's the fly on top of the towel. He's climbed up. Yeah, and he's looking at me with most of his eyes. And so I finish up, and I walk out of the bathroom, I close the door behind me, and through the door I say to the fly, "You win."
Well, he was standing on top of that towel like, the champion. That's on top of his victory.
Yeah, he just brushed that off. That's nothing. That's the best you got.
Well, Milt, you have been performing terrific stand-up comedy for so many decades. It's always been an honor to have you as a friend and as a comic on my stages, and in recent years as a guest on my podcast. What is something you've written recently? Anything new you're working on?
Well, dating in your 60s, I won't date women that aren't my age. I don't want to explain supplemental insurance again. I really don't.
Yeah, that could be a problem. That could be a real date, mood killer.
Yeah. And of course, daylight savings time is coming, which means I have to reposition my sundial again. And I forget if I nudge it dial wise or counter dial wise in the spring. I don't. Anyway. So, just stuff about dating. I have a pet now. I don't want to talk about that so much right now. I mean, that's a whole nother chunk and another day, Scott. If you don't mind, I gotta doll myself out.
No. I totally understand. And I think we'll just have to end it on dating while in your 60s. I think that between that and you naked in a fly paints a pretty picture for the audience.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another fun podcast with my good friend Milt Abel. Milt, thanks for sharing some time with us today.
Thanks for having me, Scott. You be well.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that short podcast interview with my buddy Milt Abel. Before I end the show, I wanted to share another recording I did. The setup is that Milt Abel was working at Caesars Las Vegas, and they had a big magic show before the comedy show, and the magician had big, 400 or 500-pound tigers in the show. And so I was asking him about it, and Milt shares this story I think you'll enjoy. Here we go.
And they would do 3 comedy shows, I think 7, 10, and midnight. And then they would have a magic show at 8 and 9:30, or whatever fit into that, in between those. 2 magic shows, 3 stand-up comedy shows. Well, the last show began at midnight for the stand-ups. And they would move the cats into their truck to take them to the yard that they spent the day at. Well, you could hear the change. When I was on stage emceeing, or I was the MC, I think, and you could hear the change. And so it got to be this one run that it became a regular thing that I would pull the curtain aside and they would let the cat, look out. I'd share it with the audience. I go, they're moving the cat right now. You want to see them? And they knew it was coming. Well, one night I said, "Oh, they're moving the cat. You guys want to see the tiger?" And they go, "Yeah." So I go to the curtain part, and as soon as I get close enough, the curtain reaches out and envelops me, grabs me, and I just about fainted. And then you can hear all the stagehands up in the rafters laughing because they had set it up that I was going to be grabbed like from a tiger through this curtain. And then of course I explained to them, and I told them I shouldn't have been wearing my river cologne. And we eventually saw the cat, and it moved out. But yeah, I would do that. It became a regular thing every night at the midnight show. I could hear the change, and maybe they even didn't have the cat that time. They scared me.
Oh, yeah. And what's funny about the story, since the staff was all in on it, it could have been one of the stagehands grabbing your hand, pretending it was the tiger, and you assuming there's this big, 500-pound tiger.
Yeah, they couldn't train the tiger to grab the curtain like that. No, it was a stagehand that did it.
That's just hilarious that they pulled that on you. Well, thanks for sharing that story, Milt. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We have more comedy coming up for you next Sunday. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Stand-Up Comedy, your host and MC. For information on the show, merchandise, and our sponsors, or to send comments to Scott, visit our website at www.standupyourhostandmc.com. Look for more episodes soon and enjoy the world of stand-up comedy. Visit a comedy showroom near you.